Hi, welcome to the Vanessa verse. This is where I discuss the permutations, the ramifications, and primarily the ruttings in Rivals. Push the subscribe button and do leave your comments and your questions. I look forward to receiving them.
Vanessa, the big question that's come out of the first season is who is the real sex icon from Rivals?
This is such an excellent question. Everyone I know is talking about this. I bet everyone you know is talking about this. And I bet you're thinking about this even if you haven't discussed it with anyone in public. Who is the sexiest man in Rivals? So you may well say, Vanessa, it's very easy. It's completely obvious. The man that every woman desires and some men desire in equal measure, the irresistible, the incomparable, the priapic, the sex on legs. It's Rupert Campbell-Black, played so magnificently by Alexander Hassell. He must be at the top of your list. Well, you may think that. You may very well think that. But then, of course, hot contender, red hot contender, the extraordinarily pheromonal Aidan Turner, a kind of ravishing mixture of Terry Wogan and David Frost, absolutely sizzling character, a talk show host beyond compare, an ardent husband, a passionate character striding through the country in magnificent boots. Declan O'Hara, played by Aidan Turner of Poldark fame, is he not the most sexually irresistible man in the cast? And then you may think, well, hang on a minute, wait a minute. I'm not thinking Alexander Hassell. I'm not thinking Aidan Turner. The man that really gets me ardently salivating, panting, hot for passionate intercourse is David Tennant as Lord Baddingham, because he's a baddie. And you know what we women are like, and some men. We have a penchant that we cannot fight for the baddie. And as Lord Baddingham, he chomps on a cigar, he chomps on Cameron, his program controller. He's a naughty man, he's bad, he's got a wicked glint in his eye. You know that if he just chucked you over his shoulder and carted you off to the boudoir to have his wicked way with you, it would be absolutely sensational. So I would say that David Tennant is way up there. We've got Alexander Hassell. Yes, we would. Of course we would. We've got Aidan Turner. Oh my God, we would. We most definitely would. We've got David Tennant. Would I? Could I? Should I? Yes, of course I would. But there is one other outlying contender who has more women than you can imagine and some men palpitating, throbbing on a weekly basis. This wasn't supposed to happen. This was not on the cards. And yet you cannot orchestrate for passion and carnal desire. It erupts when it erupts. And that actor, that person, is Danny Dyer in A Very Bad Syrup, playing Fred Jones. And there is something about the subtlety, the tenderness, the modesty, all those words that you don't necessarily associate with sexy, that somehow translates into a man that we would like to bundle off to bed. We would like to show all sorts of delicate personal attention to, because we know that he has the capacity to make us feel loved and warmed and wanted, and we can sense in his character a whole load of hitherto unactivated sexual sparks that will be cataclysmic when they're unleashed and multiply orgasmic. So I would say this is a surprise to me. It's a surprise to you. I bet you anything it's a surprise to Danny Dyer. It may even be a shock to Dame Jilly Cooper herself. But it is most definitely a fact that the most sexually desirable man in the cast of Rivals is Danny Dyer. I think Dame Jilly Cooper drew the character of Freddie Jones with warmth, with affection, with a certain kind of empathy. You know, he's very, very much put down by his ball-breaking wife. He's obviously had a long old journey to power and influence. He's modest, he lacks confidence, he's insecure. But I don't think she realized the dimension that the brilliant acting of Danny Dyer was going to bring to that part. And somehow or other, he's the kind of actor who can take a character off the page and give that character a whole wealth of attributes and a whole kind of cascade of magnetism that isn't necessarily written on the page. And I think that's what he's done. That's why I think Dame Gilly herself will be surprised, but also pleased as anything to find out that it's Danny Dyer that most women and some men are deeply, deeply desirous of. Well, in real life, Danny Dyer's nothing like Fred Jones at all. Danny Dyer is a swaggerer. He's a boulevardier. He's very humorous. He's fantastic company. He says all sorts of shocking things that are really hilarious. I mean, I have interviewed him. I have met him, and I have found it absolutely electrifying to be in his company. But in Freddie Jones, he's showing a hitherto unseen side of himself. And the Danny Dyer that I met in real life is nothing at all like Freddie Jones. And that's a testimony to his brilliant thespian skills. David Tennant brings a smorgasbord of skill to his portrayal of Lord Baddingham, because on the surface you think, oh, he's a pantomime baddie, boo, hiss, he's like Abanazar in the pantomime of Aladdin, every time he comes on, bad old Lord Baddingham, he's even got the word bad in his name, he's eponymously bad, he's just bad, he's a bad character through and through. But you learn a few things about him that round his character out. For example, he went to grammar school. He didn't go to public school. So every time he sees Rupert Campbell-Black, he feels socially inferior. We also know that the only reason he lives in the style that he lives in is because he made a good marriage to his wife, who is the inheritor of the very beautiful stately home in which they live. So it doesn't come from his family, it comes from her family. So he's kind of on borrowed turf. He's swaggering about, acting posh, while really knowing that he isn't. He's socially on shifting sands. He feels insecure and inadequate. And lots of his braggadocio and his conduct is because of his own feelings of insecurity and inadequacy. So he's a fleshed out character. He's not just a panto, paper thin baddie. He's a person with hopes and fears and dreams like all of the rest of us. And he happens to be David Bloody Tennant and absolutely bloody damn gorgeous while he's doing it. Alex Hassell is Rupert Campbell-Black. Rupert Campbell-Black is supposed to be the sexiest man in England. He's the man that makes everybody wriggle with desire. I think Alex Hassell plays him beautifully, brilliantly. He's got that kind of insouciance. He's got sang-froid. He's terribly, terribly confident, but actually turns out to be rather nice. He's on the right side. He wants to take over Corinium and make the station better, not worse. And then there, of course, are all these 80s behavioral traits that are a little bit of a shock to our woke 2024 system. For example, he roundly and ferociously gropes Taggy. Now, Taggy, she is our heroine and we love her. She's sweet, she's young, she's delightful. B, she is Declan O'Hara's daughter. In other words, the daughter of his contemporary. So, it's like copping off with your friend's kid. It's not ideal. It's not something that people really want anyone else to do. And they don't really want to do it themselves. And if they do, they keep it quiet. But C, he roundly and ferociously gropes Taggy at a dinner party when she's serving the food. So A, she's much, much younger. B, she's the daughter of a friend and associate. C, she's in a servile position because she's literally a serving wench serving the food. And D, he reaches over in a public place and thoroughly gropes her. Now, we don't like any of those things. We don't approve of that, do we? But this is in an 80s setting where we're somehow able to let go of some of our beliefs, some of our preconceptions. And I think we're supposed to think that the chemistry between the two, between Taggy and Rupert, is so insurmountably, palpably gigantic that she is attracted to and by him. He is attracted to and by her. Really, the two, especially he, is much nicer than he appears to be deep down. He's got a deep core of tenderness and niceness. And so we're meant to be wishing them on and on to get together. It's a little complicated if you start to dissect it and dismantle it. But if you just let yourself get washed along with it, I think you find that you're just rooting for the two of them as a couple. You want them to be together. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you don't want to know what goes on in Rivals, don't listen to this bit. But let me explain how it could possibly be that Freddie Jones, played by Danny Dyer, and Lizzie, played by Catherine Parkinson, both married to other characters, can have an affair, an extramarital affair in Rivals, and we are absolutely rooting for them, tooting for them, cheering them on from the sidelines. We are pleased they got together. We are relieved. We are thrilled. It's all good. Why is that when both of them are committing adultery? Well, because it's been so carefully set up, hasn't it? And so beautifully and elegantly drawn by Dame Jilly Cooper and also the director of Rivals, so that we know that Catherine's husband, Mr. Verica, is a shallow, narcissistic brute of a fellow. He's really unpleasant. He is, in fact, I work with someone very, very similar to him. I will say on Talk TV, I'm not going to say who the person is, but you'll probably be able to guess if you try. I'm talking about a real hollow cipher of an individual, deeply unpleasant to everyone around him, who loved himself because he was a TV presenter. Doesn't work there anymore. Freddie Jones's wife is a social climbing shrew of a character who is deeply, deeply unlikable, is constantly putting him down, is trying to diet him, doesn't like anything he says or does, doesn't really seem to show him much respect. Her name is Valerie in the series. And we just think that what Freddie needs and wants is some love, some good loving, some fun, some tenderness, some appreciation. And we know that Lizzie is the right woman to give it to him. So it has been set up so that despite the fact that they are both playing away, we, the audience, could not be more delighted. Thank you very much for watching my upsum of Rivals on the Vanessaverse, my YouTube channel. Do press the subscribe button. Leave your questions. I'll answer them next week. Look forward to seeing you then.